All right, this method, we are solving a system of linear equations by elimination. So we're going to use this method if it's not easy to isolate a variable. So this method, we're going to be adding our equations together to eliminate, so we want to get rid of a variable. So when we add, we're trying to create opposite numbers. So when we add them together, one of our variables always adds to be 0. Okay, so that's our goal. So to get this to happen, we might have to multiply either one or both equations by a number. So that way when we add them, we get a 0. And we also want to make sure when we're adding them together that they're arranged the same way. So typically we want them to be in standard form where x and y are on the same side. Alright, so I'm going to, if you need to, I want you to pause the video and you can read through the instructions that I have listed out here, but I'm just going to go and start solving the problems. So again, take a moment to pause the video, read through the instructions. Alright, so solving by elimination. So first thing we want to do is to decide which variable we want to eliminate. And then we have to decide if we need to multiply one or both equations by something to make that happen. So if I'm looking at problem 10, I'm going to want to eliminate y because I already have opposites going on. So if I take -2 and I add it to 2, that adds to be 0. So this one's really easy. I don't have to do any extra work. We're just taking the equations as is and adding them together. So 3x plus 2x is 5x. -2 plus 2 is 0, so our y's cancel out. 14 plus 6 is 20. So I've eliminated a variable. So now I just solve for the variable that I have left. So we would divide by 5, and x will be 4. Alright, so now, just like before, once we find one variable, we substitute it back in to find the other. And we just pick the equation that we want. So I think I'm going to pick the bottom one because it's all positive numbers. So I'm going to replace this x with 4, and then we're going to solve for y. So 2 times 4 plus 2y equals 6. 8 plus 2y equals 6. Subtract the 8. So 2y equals -2. Divide by 2. So y is -1. And then our final step is to write our answer as a point. So 4, -1. Final answer. Alright, so again, the next one we're going to look at kind of same thing. So we're going to decide which variable we want to eliminate and then figure out if we have to multiply either one or both equations by a number to make that happen. So when I'm looking at this, I'm going to want to eliminate the x because there are already 4, so I would just have to pick one equation and multiply it by a negative, and I've created my opposite. So I'm going to take the top one, and I'm going to multiply that by -1. Okay, so remember we're multiplying everything by -1. So that will give me -4x minus 9y equals -1. And then I'm going to add these two equations together. So x's add to be 0, which is what we want to happen, so they are eliminated. +6 plus a -9 is -3y. -2 plus -1 is -3. So now we're just solving for our remaining variable. So we would divide, and y has to be a +1. So now we pick an equation. So it doesn't really matter which one. I think I'll just pick the top one. And I'm going to substitute 1 back into the y. So we would have 4x plus 9 times 1 equals 1. So simplifying 4x plus 9 equals 1. Subtract the 9. So 4x equals -8. And then we would divide both sides by 4. X is -2. And again, final answer is written as a point. So -2, 1. All right, one more example. So looking at that, so 3 and 5 don't have a nice common factor. So if we eliminated y, we'd have to multiply both equations by something. But if I'm looking at my x, I can take 2 times 2, and that would give us 4. So that one's going to be nice and easy to multiply something by to be able to eliminate the x. And remember, we want an opposite. So I'm actually going to multiply this equation by -2. So that will give us negative 4x minus 10y equals negative 20. We're going to add these together. So again, it's the bottom one and the one that I just wrote. That's what we're adding together. So x's cancel. 3 minus 10y is negative 7y. Negative 1 plus negative 20 is negative 21. And now we're just solving for y. So we would divide by negative 7. So y would have to be a positive 3. And our next step, we're just picking either the top equation or the second one and substituting in. So I think I'm going to pick the top one. And again, it doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to substitute 3 into the y. So 2x plus 15 equals 10. Subtract the 15. So 2x equals negative 5. And then we're going to divide by 2. So this doesn't simplify nicely, so that means I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. And again, our final answer written as a coordinate. So we'd have negative 5 halves, and then our y value is 3. So this would be our final answer.